Experiment 3 is where you're going to learn separation techniques for solids and fluids. And it's also where you're going to learn just how frustrating it is to transfer a wet solid. This is the first experiment where we have safety considerations other than those standard glassware safety rules. In this experiment, we'll be using table salt, sodium chloride, and sand, neither one of which is very dangerous on its own. Both of them, however, have something in common. They're both fine powders, and any solid fine powder is a potential irritant. And the reason for this is that inorganic solids, like sand and salt, often are very angular and have sharp edges on their powders. And these sharp edges can irritate skin and eyes and lungs. And so you should be careful when working with these powders to avoid getting any on your skin or in your eyes, and to avoid causing any dust to form in the air where you might breathe it in. When working with small amounts like we will in the lab, the safety considerations just mean that you should wear your personal protective equipment like your lab coat and your goggles, and if you spill any on your hands, you should wash it off. When working with these small amounts, you're not likely to kick up enough dust to irritate your lungs. But you can imagine that if you were working with these materials on an industrial scale, say mining for salt, you might end up with a lot of dust in the air, or you might end up with large amounts getting on your skin or potentially in your eyes. And in those conditions, the safety considerations might seem a little bit more meaningful. When you get to the lab, you'll be given 3 beakers containing a mixture of table salt and sand, and you'll also be given the masses of the contents of those beakers. So you can record the masses of those mixtures into your data tables right away. The next thing you'll want to do is add roughly 50 milliliters of distilled water to each of the beakers. And it doesn't matter if you're exact on this value, anything even close to 50 is fine. Once you've done that, you should swirl each mixture or stir it in order to ensure that all of the salt dissolves. The next thing you'll want to do is weigh 3 watch glasses and record their masses. And you'll be using these watch glasses to weigh the sand from the mixtures. Once the sand in beaker A has settled to the bottom and the mixture appears to be mostly clear, decant the fluid from the beaker into an empty Erlenmeyer flask. And then once you've done that, use a metal scupula to transfer the sand onto one of the watch glasses, the one that you weighed and recorded for data table 1. And then once you've done that, weigh the sand and watch glass together and record that mass. And you can do the same kind of thing with gravity filtration. Take the mixture in beaker B, gravity filter it, and transfer the sand to the watch glass. Weigh the watch glass and the sand together and then record the mass. For part 3, suction filtration, you take the mixture in beaker C, suction filter it, transfer the sand to the 3rd watch glass, and then weigh the sand and watch glass together and record the mass.